Hello, welcome back to Self Love Sunday, my dear sister and brother, if there's some men watching us as well. Welcome back. After my little travel mode, we are back at my house and to the usual structure of the episode. Today, we're going to be talking about something that definitely deeply resonates with me, and that is the chase for self love. Everyone is telling us, everything around us tells us to self love. But at the same time, there is so much criticism, there is so much unrealistic standards, there is just everything making sure that we don't love ourselves. And as a result of how we are growing up and what is happening around us, we often become our own cage. We often become our own worst critic, and we defend self-punishment as if it was something important to us. And why does that happen? So today, this is what we're going to be talking about. So let's dive into the episode. So firstly, before we jump into the whys, I want to share a bit of a personal truth about this, how it was showing up in my life. So it took me a while to get to the point where I actually enjoy seeing myself in the mirror. Believe it or not, some of you may think, she's pretty, so she doesn't know what she's talking about. Believe it or not, this world made me feel and made me think that I am not enough, that I am not pretty enough, that I'm not smart enough. Going back to the episode about how kindness is being mistaken for lack of intelligence as well. I've been underestimated my whole life, and therefore I made it my truth. So I would tend to self-police in multiple ways. I would not ask for the promotion at work. I would not dare to question certain decisions. I would shrink myself automatically to be palatable to other people, to be palatable to men, to be palatable to friends, to be palatable to strangers, frankly. And I would be so hard on myself. Examples, I was beating myself up for not being disciplined, for example. So if I was overeating, if I was not going to the gym, I would tell myself, I know this logically. Why can't I do it? What is wrong with me? I have no discipline, and I would be resentful of other people doing better than I do, right? The people that are eating healthy, the people that are working out, the people that are going for the promotions, and I'll be blaming the outside that this is not happening for me. I'll be resentful towards these people. While in fact, they were just making the best out of their own lives. And there was also a grief behind it all once I started to analyze it recently deeper. There's a grief that certain people had a head start in life. And they got to be feeling safe in their own bodies, in their own lives, at least more than I was, or earlier than I was. And they had more time to get to where they are today, while I kept on feeling that I'm behind. Right? But going back to being your harshest critic, that would show up in me being defensive, for example, when my cousin challenged me, you should ask for more money at work. You've been there for this amount of time. And I was like, no, what are you talking about? I'm so lucky to even have this job, you know? This was my response to having more money. Everyone wants more money. But this was my response. Initially, I got defensive, right? Whenever I was in front of a mirror, in the past, not talking right now. Now I'm just like, yeah, loving myself, yeah, and glory, in my whole glory, exactly the way I am. And now I have the possibility to have the real self-loving discipline in my life. It's coming out naturally, right? But in the past, it would be pointing out what is wrong with me. When I was a teenager, it was like about my nose, right? It was not about my nose. Then there was cellulite. There was like pointing everything that is wrong with me, always missing what is right with me and what makes me different than others. And I will go as deep even as seeking validation in being spiritual and being the good girl, the one who is the most forgiving, the most understanding, right? It became a competition and part of my identity to self-abandon, to be hard on myself, to never fully be satisfied with where I am in my life. There's always something else to chase. There's always something else to achieve. And then I'll be able to be happy. Then I'll be able to be satisfied with myself. And behind it all, there was a fear that if I really self-love, if I love myself truly, doesn't that make me a narcissist? I was so scared that I'm going to become the person that I always thought that abuse their power, abuse their self-love, self-adoring. Obviously, this is different. This is completely different than actually loving yourself from the right space, from your heart. It's basically loving yourself without comparison to others and without the need of diminishing others and putting them down in order for you to raise, right? To rise. So the fear was that where will that take me if I love myself? Will I become the very people that I try to not be like? Because I saw what power with what entitlement does to people, and that's what I was afraid of becoming entitled. And there is a difference, of course. So why do we do this? Why do we stick on being hard on ourselves, to being hard on ourselves, to criticizing ourselves, or never being fully satisfied with where we are? There's 3 layers that I can think of right now. One of them is control, meaning we control the environment around us by thinking, if I hurt myself first, if I'm going to be the hardest one on myself, then no one else can do that for me. No one else can do that to me. Yeah? So it is self-preservation, it is self-protection. I mean, no one can be worse than I can be for myself. The second thing is identity. So I mentioned that briefly. It became part of the identity that I'm the strong one. I'm the one who handles everything. I am the one who always forgives the most, or I'm the one who leaves first. I'm the one that always has a plan for every single scenario, and becomes part of your identity. And it's so hard to let go of, because it's so deeply ingrained over the years into how we interact in the world, how people refer to us. We know our role. Yeah. And finally, the third one is sense of safety. If we were growing up in a chaotic environment, the uncertainty, what it like, the up is down, down is up, good is bad, bad is good. There is a blurred lines about what is and isn't right. Certain behaviors are accepted as normal, and you grow up around that, then you have a lot of undoing to do later down the line. Like, you have a lot of unpeeling to do. Yeah. So if chaos feels familiar, you're gonna try and hold on to it. Clarity feels too good to be true. Truth feels too good to be true. Simple honesty, simple, like, just love from other people for real, for who we truly are, without all the fluff, seems too good to be true. And the hidden fear around it, and I already tapped into it with identity. If I let go of control, of identity, of the false sense of safety, who am I? Who am I without all of it? Who am I without the pain? And unfortunately, there isn't a shortcut to finding out that perhaps what I've been living as is not really me. And it does take going over a grief of a version of us that perhaps was never real, potentially was never real, or was our survival mode. And we are facing ourselves now in the uncertainty and not knowing who are we going to become. There's certain sense of fear that you're losing something and someone forever. Yeah. And how sad it is that this question that you may pose for yourself, if this wasn't me all this time, who was it? And why did I have to become all of this? Why did I have to hurt myself so much just to feel loved? And it's not your fault, by the way, because it's deep, deep conditioning. And you do have to take time and space to grieve it, to truly be your mama bear, be your loving self, and this is exactly the time to give yourself unconditional love. Despite the uncertainty, despite not having all the answers, giving yourself the love for that new version of you that is only starting to be born, starting to become. And the truth is, maybe it's not being born, it is unraveling, because this is who you were. That real you was there all along. You were just suppressing it for the sake of survival, for the sake of control, for the sake of other people. And it's a big one to drop off. It's a truly freaking brave choice to face yourself like that. To face the truth that you might have been living from the place of fear, and you might not have been living for yourself. You are unraveling who you truly are. It takes courage, it takes time, it takes grief. So what is the shift? How do we change that? How do we actually get through that transition? We realize that self-attack is not self-discipline, as many of us were taught. Picking on yourself is your own cage. Softness does not equal weakness. It's just possibly has been shut down, and possibly you never felt safe to express softness. So you had to build a shell. You had to build the protection identity. And it's okay. It's okay that you did. But now, because you're probably in this stage, you're watching this video, if this video resonates right now, that tells me that you are in that process of transition. So I'm just telling you again, now that you feel safer, grieve it. Allow yourself the softness. Allow yourself not to self-attack. Allow yourself the unconditional love that you always wanted. And the truth is, you don't really lose control because you never had control. And that's somehow liberating, isn't it? Because certain things you cannot control, so you might as well live. You don't really lose control. You just change how you hold it. You shift the focus on what you can truly control. And by being brave enough to face yourself and let the new, not new you, but the original you to unfold, to express itself, to grieve the years of self-abandonment, to come out on the other side, that is the shit. That is the work. You're amazing. You are amazing. You are not the years of survival. Just because you're coming out of it so bravely shows you that you are so much more. And you knew that deep inside. That's why you came to this point. That is why you came to this point of transition, of pausing, taking a breath. And instead of self-attack, you'll choose curiosity about yourself. You are not your patterns. You are not your patterns. You are so much more. And I think this is it for today. I hope this gives you a bit of an insight of how certain patterns secretly run our life, and how often we have a completely wrong idea of what self-discipline is. How we are often the harshest critic of everything that is us, whether it's looks, whether it's performance, whether it's how we love, how we feel, how we perceive the world. But the truth is, the journey back to you, back to your heart, is stopping to self-attack and becoming your biggest supporter. Stop self-punishing for something that was rooted in you subconsciously. By bringing light to it, by grieving the pain, you can come out on the other side in your true, magnificent, endless power. Not from entitlement, but from your heart unapologetically shining. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope it resonated. And if you feel that this may benefit someone in your life, share this episode. Like, subscribe. And thank you so much for being here. Sending you love. Take good care of your heart, because it's been through a lot. See you next week.